All right, we're here with episode 10 of the Take Me on Tour podcast. We have a great guest today, Dominique D'Costa, which I will get into in just a bit. If you haven't seen or listened to the last episode, that one was a tour recap about my time in Australia drum teching for the band Memphis Mayfire. But coming up next is another Breaking Benjamin tour. This time it's another co-headliner with 3 Days Grace with support from the band Return to Dust. And I believe the drummer for the band is Slash's son, but I'm not 100% positive on that. It's another co-headliner, and at this point, I think like half the tours I've done with Breaking Benjamin have been co-headliners, and they can sometimes just be a headache. And I actually wish that either 3 Days Grace or Breaking Benjamin were doing the headlining with the other band supporting. And the reason being is that with co-headliners, usually things have to be equal in almost every aspect. So if one band wants to change something like a t-shirt price, then they have to go to the other band and say, hey, are you cool with this? Do you agree? You know, we're going to do shirts for this price instead of that price. And it kind of just becomes a whole process. And a lot of that crosses over into the stage space and bus parking and dressing rooms. And it can kind of just turn into a whole thing. Whereas if it were just one headliner, you know, they make all the decisions and everyone kind of has to follow their lead. And things are just more catered to them. You know, they make the merch prices, and then everyone else below them, like direct support and openers, they have to price match them, and the headliner gets the biggest dressing room and so on. So I kind of just wish, you know, either Breaking Benjamin were direct support or 3 Days of Grace, but I do think that Breaking Benjamin is closing all of the shows on this one, whereas, you know, on the co-headliner before, we were doing with Stained, it was half of it was Breaking Benjamin closing and the other half was Stained closing. But I think according to the schedule that I've seen, I think Breaking Benjamin is closing every single show on this tour. And it may not sound like much, but I even remember this being a problem with VIP a few years ago where, you know, people were getting upset because, you know, this band's fans are entering the venue earlier than, you know, the other band's fans. And I'm just glad I get to kind of hide out in a truck on these tours because in case you don't know, these are venue sales tours, which means even though I'm doing merchandise, I'm not actually doing the selling myself. There's artist sales and there's venue sales. So if it's artist sales, you know, typically in clubs and theaters, I'm setting up and I'm selling and I'm behind the table and restocking and doing all that kind of stuff on a tour like this, which is it's an arena, big arenas, an amphitheater tour. Normally we do all amphitheaters around this time of year, but it's nice to be indoors. So they're going to be, it's like a half and half. So some indoors, some outdoors. But yeah, I'm just kind of in charge of supplying the product to the venue and giving them enough to make sure they have enough to cover all the stands and restock them as they need, you know, get things signed by the band. And basically just, I'm kind of in charge of all the labor, the truck management and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I prefer. I like being on the back end of things and just, you know, organizing the truck and doing logistics and stuff like that. But in other news, I got to meet Chris Fehn, formerly of Slipknot today. If you don't know who he is, he was one of the original percussionists and had been with the band from 1999 until 2019. And a lot of people discredit his involvement in Slipknot, saying that he just beats a keg or whatever, but I consider Slipknot and him to be a huge part of my childhood and one of my favorite bands of all time, even though it's crazy to see what they've become. But he recently started doing these Comic-Con events and just happened to be in San Antonio this weekend, which is about an hour away from where I live now. And it was hosted by a company called Kings of Horror. And I had no idea he was going to be here. My brother texted me about it on Friday and sent me a link, and I saw he was going to be there. And I wasn't even planning on going because I kind of had my whole weekend planned out because I'm leaving soon for tour. And, you know, usually the last week of tour, I've got everything in place, you know, this day I'm doing this day I'm packing, this day I'm, you know, recording a podcast. And I really didn't have any intentions of driving to San Antonio yet again because I had already, you know, driven through there recently to visit some family. So I had no intention of going, and I don't like doing these things alone. I really don't. But my brother is, you know, 2.5 hours away. So he was like, I don't think I can make it. You know, it's really short notice, 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back. So I ended up going. He kind of convinced me to go, and I went solo. And I really don't like doing these things alone. Like I said, I really don't even like these kind of events at all, where it's, you know, you pay to meet somebody. I just don't like the way they're set up. You know, it's over the table selfies and really quick interactions and kind of just a very impersonal experience. But This one went really well, and Chris was great. And it's really hard to meet somebody like him who's not in the band anymore. So I just went for it. And autographs were $50 each, $20 for a photo, or you could do both for $60. So I got my self-titled album signed. That one's already signed by Joey and Craig and Sid. So I went and got my album signed by him, and I took a photo with him, and my brother wanted a photo as well. So I bought him an autograph photo. He had like a table with pre-printed photos that you could buy for $50 as well. So I got my album signed, and then I got the photo for my brother, and then took a picture with him. And as I was standing there, I had 2 more albums to sign, but I knew that I may not get this opportunity again. I didn't really want to spend the money on 2 more autographs, but I was like, man, I better just go for it, because I really don't know when my next opportunity is going to be. So I got those signed as well. And, my biggest concern with this whole thing was having to take one of those over the table selfies, which I just can't stand, where they kind of just look up and give a peace sign or something or whatever, thumbs up. And, those are just really impersonal. So I really didn't want to do that. But Chris was great. Like every time somebody needed to take a photo, he got up and, went to the front of the table, and his friend John, who was handling everything, took the photo and took great photos. He didn't just take one, he took, some vertical and some horizontal, and he was like, make sure we're good. And I really appreciate that, because whenever you pay for something or meet somebody, the last thing you want is to look at the photo later and it comes out blurry or your eyes are closed or something like that. So great experience. You could tell they really wanted to make sure the fans got, what they paid for. And, some people on Reddit were saying that, I guess implying that the prices were too high, but I think $50 for an autograph for a guy that doesn't even tour anymore. I mean, I'll pay that all day. And especially $20 for a photo. And then if you buy both, you even get $10 off. So, most people, including myself, I don't really like to pay for stuff. But like I said, when he's here solely for that, to meet fans and to make some money, and he's not touring anymore. I mean, I'm glad I went, and I really enjoyed the experience. And you just never really know what's going to happen next. Some people won't be here as long as you think. I mean, look at Joey Jordison and Dimebag Darrell, Vinnie Paul Gray, Trevor Sternad, Brent Hines, who just passed away a few days ago. You just really never know what's going to happen next. So I was like, I better just go and get this done while I can. And so I don't want to end up regretting it, if I didn't go. But yeah, great experience. And I think he said he's going to be coming back next year in March. So hopefully that happens, and hopefully we get to go again. And I know he did have some drum heads and drumsticks the day before on Saturday, but they said they were all out of them. I did ask if they were signature sticks or just, plain drumsticks, and they were just plain drumsticks. He said his friend John actually said that he doesn't even own any signature drumsticks anymore. So if you are hoping to get one at one of these events, I just wouldn't expect any to be there. So great experience, and I'm really glad I went. And that knocks out, I think, 4 of the original members, which Paul I'll never get. So I have 4 more to go. I have Clown, Corey, Jim, and Mick, and we'll just see. Hopefully, I can get these records finished and signed and meet the whole band, except for Paul, of course. But yeah, really glad I went, and really enjoyed the experience. But anyway, let's get into today's guest. On this episode, we have Dominique D'Costa, who is a photographer and videographer for bands like Breaking Benjamin, Daughtry, Asking Alexandria, and worked closely with Grandview Management. She did her first tour with Breaking Benjamin a couple of years ago, working for the opening band Another Day Dawns, which led her to then working for Breaking Benjamin in a matter of just a couple of months. And she tells the story in more depth about how she ended up going from working at Trader Joe's to touring as a full-time photographer. So her story is a great example about how things can happen really fast and how a lot of us end up getting our foot in the door into the music industry. She's always been a supporter of the Take Me On Tour channel and podcast, and so I'm really grateful to have her on the show, and I think a lot of newcomers can really learn from her story. So here is my conversation with Dominique D'Costa. All right, we're here with Dominique D'Costa, and we finally made it happen after about a year or so, I'd say, of planning this.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, we were planning to do this 2 tours ago, I think, and me being new to podcasting, I was just like bringing all this equipment on the road, and next thing you know, I'm having difficulties and can't get it to work. I'm literally sitting in like a hotel lobby, like with all this gear and can't get it to work, just embarrassing myself. But I'm glad we finally made it happen.
Honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. And you're my first female guest. So
honored. Let's go.
Congrats. Yeah, Blake was my first in-person guest.
You were going to say Blake was my first real female guest.
Oh man, that would have been good. I should have done that. Yeah, that would have been amazing. But yeah, you're my first female guest, my first in-person female guest. So I'm glad to have you here. And
thank you.
Yeah, and one of the reasons you were one of the first people I thought of asking, and although it took a year to get this done or so, I mean, it's because you were one of the first people supporting this whole thing that I do, and I've been nervous about this since I started it, and I kind of eased my way in and told people about it, and you were one of the ones that was just like, dude, you just got to go for it. Like, just if you want to ask permission, go for it, and if you don't, like, just do it. You got to do it. You can't stop thinking about it, or you can't keep thinking about it and being afraid to do it. And that's exactly what I was afraid to do. And then like 2 years later, I don't know, I'm still doing it. Everyone supports it. All the band supports it. And yeah, it's been good. So I appreciate that from day one.
We're proud of you. I've made that mistake plenty of times of like overthinking, not making a move. And then half the time you just got to make a move. You just got to do it. You got to take the leap, whether it's going to work or it's not, or it doesn't. You never know. You don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to learn of like, you do it, you make the move, and you're like, okay, that wasn't for me. That wasn't great. And at least you have an answer then. But not making a move is a move in and of itself. And that screws most people. So proud of you for you know what? It takes time, and it's doing stuff like this is terrifying, especially being on camera. But you're doing it, and that's awesome.
Thank you, and I'm glad I'm still doing it. I mean, it's a lot of work, especially when we want to have days off too. Like you want to have your day off, but at the same time, I'm like,
sorry, what's a day off?
Well, for you don't really have any, right? You're us. I mean, we're kind of in positions too where we both. And in case I didn't mention it, I apologize. Dominique does what would you call yourself? A content person? Videographer, photographer.
Technically, in this day and age, I am a content person, but I prefer photographer, videographer. It just sounds a little more professional and less YouTuber-y. And for somebody whose job is fueled by social media and technology, absolutely. I'm not the biggest fan of all the different trending things. So photographer, videographer.
Absolutely. And I've talked to you about that before, like how I personally don't, like even for what I'm doing, I don't like people looking at me as like, and calling me a content creator, because it's just, it puts you in a big, like, I don't know, category of just blanket term, I guess you could say. And it's just like, everyone's a content creator, and it's just like, what is it? But that's kind of what people refer to it as. But I would say photographer is what definitely more professional, but
I'm a photographer that does video.
Right, exactly. And so I mean, for us, and I do merch in case anybody doesn't know, but that's always been certain things that I envy about other positions is that like on a day off, some people have a day off. And then there's other positions like you and me, we're always the last ones up on the bus doing computer stuff. No, for me, it's numbers and, getting stuff ready for the next day and you turning in your edits and everything. So I think we've both seen each other falling asleep in the front lounge on
more often than not, unfortunately.
On mini tours where we're just like, and then we like stop and grab food, grab a drink, and then we're like, okay, back at it. And it's literally like, at the earliest, I'd say we go to sleep, like 3 a.m, maybe 2 on a really good day.
On a really good day, if I'm in my bed by 2, that means some miracle happened that night.
Usually I'd say for me, it's 3, sometimes 4, sometimes.
When I'm with a headliner, I'm usually going to bed at like 6 a.m. and then up by 10.
Yeah, and that's that's not good.
So.
Of course, but I'm so used to it too. Some of it's my own fault from pushing myself to, I guess I like my wind down time too. So sometimes it's work, but then it's like I owe myself a little bit of scrolling, even though
you need it. You need the work-life balance, and it's very difficult to figure that out while you're on the road, especially with jobs that are like, I don't even want to say constantly demanding, because different bands have different needs, but you're just always going. I constantly have the guilt of like, well, there's another video I could build, or maybe I should edit that photo, or maybe I should like try this thing, or maybe I should be learning. But the biggest thing is like, you got to take those moments to walk away and like take care of yourself, because I've done the tours where I don't do that, and recovering is very difficult.
Right.
but it's also fun to just be awake all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've always said, even at home, I just don't feel like the days are long enough. I mean, 24 hours is not enough time. I mean, even at home, I'm like, man, there's just not enough time to be doing all the things I need to do and all the things I want to do. And these tours, I mean, these days off go by like really, really fast. You know, you get into a hotel. Sometimes if we're lucky, it's 10 a.m. If we're, sometimes it's noon, sometimes it's 4 p.m. like we did a couple of days ago. By
the whole
then,
day is gone.
yeah. Yep. I mean, that's exactly. I mean, it's already time to grab dinner after that, and these days off just go by really fast. So balancing that is kind of tough, and we're all exhausted, and we all fall asleep on the bed without like intending to wake up. Yeah, I mean,
that happens. That's been happening like every day since I've started this tour. I'll just suddenly like wake up 4 hours later and be like, shit.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And then last night, I knew I had to work on your notes, but Blake and Vanessa went to the bar, and Vanessa is the
greatest RF coordinator ever.
Yeah, RF coordinator. So she was with us on a tour before, and her and Blake are a thing now. And
the greatest couple of all time. No offense to you and Gabby. I also love both of you.
No, not at all.
Vanessa and Blake, if you guys want to get married now, that'd be sick.
Yeah. So they went to the bar and they invited everybody, and I went by, and before you knew it, I was like, I haven't even done my notes for this, but I got up early and knocked them out. And
honored.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't like to go into this thing just blind. I just want to make sure we cover everything that we're supposed to,
Yeah.
But yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, we're currently on tour again. Obviously, we're in a hotel room. We're in Lubbock, Texas. And we're on another leg of the Breaking Benjamin Stained co-headliner, this time with Wage War, though, and Lakeview opening. But how has this tour been for you so far?
Tour's been great. What's really cool about kind of repeating a tour is it was very easy for all of us to walk in, and we kind of knew everybody except for the Wage War guys, which was awesome. I'm also a huge Wage War fan, so I was just really excited that they were on this tour. But like Lakeview we've become really good friends. The Stain guys, the crew, everybody. It's great to like see everybody again, and it made it feel more like home. Rather than it usually takes the first month into a tour when you finally start learning everybody's names, you get comfortable, your friends, and then tour's over. Meanwhile, we already got that out of the way in the fall. We all know each other. We came in, and now it's just like, all right, once we get logistics figured out, stage set up, everybody gets comfortable in their schedule. Now it's just like, all right, cool, let's hang out with our friends.
Yeah, I know. And you're right. And it does take a lot of, we kind of had the same thing with Daughtry because we did 2 tours with Daughtry, one right after another. And sometimes I don't learn people's names until the last week, Jeff, front of house production manager, didn't meet him until like the last day of tour probably. Yeah. And that just kind of happens sometimes. So yeah, we're very familiar. It's like nearly the same crew except for a couple of people, but
small handful. Yeah.
Yeah. But Wage War are like the new guys, which is cool because it's like, it's not the exact same thing, but we have a new band here. And I think it's like kind of all eyes on them because they're the new band. So
the first day of the tour, I think majority of the rest of the tour, like we were all side stage watching them. All of Lakeview was there, Breaking Ben, even Aaron Lewis was on the stage, like watching those guys. And it's like, we were all just standing there like, what's going on with you?
Yeah,
what do you have?
Yeah, we've seen everything else so many times that it's like, let's see what Wage War has.
Let's see what the new kids brought in. I know. And they put on a great performance. So it's cool to have them out here.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, we're early on, but I'm enjoying it already. I've gotten to see Wage War a couple of times, a couple of songs here and there, but I have yet to see, their full set yet. But I'm glad they're on this one. As much as we loved all the Daughtry guys and the Daughtry crew. I'm glad there's a little bit of a change, Yeah,
you got to change it up. It is odd. I'm still like fresh into touring, only a couple of years, but it's a new thing for me to see like tours repeating. So the fact that it was Breaking Ben, Daughtry all of last year was definitely interesting. And then to repeat the Stain tour was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's a comfort level, but there's also like, sometimes it is nice to switch it up because it's just nice for a change, but it's also nice for some similarities. Cause with touring, you do a tour and you bond with these people so fast because everything is so fast paced. And then you just never know when you're going to see them again. So It was really nice to be able to be like, all right, I'll see you guys in 6 months.
Yeah.
Like no matter what, like, of course I'm going to miss you guys. It's going to be hard to like get that separation. Like going home after tour is a really tough recovery. Other people think touring is fun. Touring is so much fun. I love it. I would rather have a bad day on the road than like a good day at a different job.
Yeah.
However, you're adjusting to two vastly different lifestyles of being home and being on the road. And so when you come home from the road, it's just like everything hits you at once. And I immediately miss everybody. And I'm like, oh, I can't just like walk out the door and like see my friends. I can't walk down the hall and just see all the bands and like walk to catering and there's food and then like go on stage and see who's playing and like bop out for a little bit or like meet new people. It's just like, oh, okay. So it was really nice to have that, like there was an end date to go see all my friends again.
Yeah. And it's a different life out here for sure. Living in this, it's like almost not reality in a weird way, as people talk about. Certain people have different names for it. Some people call it the bubble, which you're kind of living in a bubble. Like it's kind of like it's its own way, world. Yeah. Where,
definitely its own world for sure.
The whole, you have just a certain way of doing things. Catering, you don't got to worry about what's going to be for dinner. Everything's provided for you. Hotel room, like everything's very on kind of like a schedule and autopilot. You know what I mean? And then you go home. Life is
simplified,
right? And then you go home and it's complete different experience. Unless you're going from tour to tour. So I guess
trying to, because being home is weird. No offense to anybody at home. I love my home. I love my family. I love my friends. But it's just, it doesn't feel like home anymore. It's weird. My first week back on tour. So I had a tour that started about 3 weeks before this one. Mm-hmm. And I noticed like my first day back in a hotel, I was just walking around, getting my laundry done, whatever. And I was like, I'm more comfortable with this than I should be. I was like, I felt more comfortable walking around a random hotel, getting my laundry done than I like do at home, which is such a wild feeling because I'm also a homebody. Yeah. So when I first started touring, I was like, am I going to like this? Like, love it. And now it's like, I want to go home for like very brief periods of time and then be like, send me back out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it takes a certain person, as we've talked about before too. Yes. Like I remember whenever I first started touring, the biggest concern for me, to be honest, was like public restrooms. You know what I mean?
Super
like,
fair. Yeah.
Just like, I mean, and especially where I started, it was, we were in a van and stuff. So like it was truck stop restrooms. So which is even worse, venue restrooms. Like when you play these clubs, they don't have the nicest facilities, like.
Or even the places that don't have the like green room bathrooms or there's nothing backstage and you always have to use like the public area. It's just like,
and it's like,
that separation.
Yeah. It's like, if you got to use a restroom, you should go before doors open, where like the rest before the restroom gets destroyed.
Yeah.
So it's just not for everybody, but after a while it just becomes, this is life. You know?
Exactly. It's second nature. You get used to the like rumbling of a bus. You get used to like your little bunk. Mm-hmm. Catering sick, going home and going to a grocery store for the first time is always like, what am I doing here? I don't know.
And I will say that is one of the benefits that like we always go crazy trying to figure out what to eat for dinner and stuff. And like, I'm kind of spoiled right now because I don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
But we're out here on tour again and it's very familiar and it's like we never stopped since the last one. But
exactly.
You've been with us for a while now. I want to say that you're probably at about 2-year mark right now, right?
I started 2023.
Yeah. And geez, time is going by really, really fast because it feels like you just started here. And I'm still trying to remember like who was on what tour and, everyone's kind of come and gone. And, but you've been here for 2 years now and you've also been busy with other bands. Like you just got done doing a couple of shows with Asking Alexandria. Yep. And I think you just did some with Daughtry as well, right? Yes. The Disturbed tour?
Yes.
And then OAR was last year?
OAR was last year.
Yeah, so those are kind of the bands that you've been busy with for the last couple years, right?
Yes, and then slowly trying to throw in Lakeview where I can. Okay. Hint, hint, hire me. No, I love those guys. It's cool to see them come up, and I love working with new bands. But I was very lucky to build a relationship with the Daughtry band and crew last year as they were direct support for us, and I kind of was able to push my way into that crew. I'm very grateful for that. OAR started because Britt Bowman, who works for Disturbed.
Oh, right.
She actually wasn't able to take a job with them. She was busy at the time. She's already booked, and she was the coolest person ever and recommended me. And that's how I met them. I did a festival called Ocean's Calling with them. It was the first time I ever met them. 50,000 people, ton of bands. Like,
okay.
I was very intimidated. That's a wild place to meet a band for the first time. And they're also responsible for also creating the festival. So I was like, yeah, no pressure. It's fine.
Oh, nice.
It was incredible experience. Working for that band was phenomenal. Definitely different needs. But yeah, they were great. And then I recently got the opportunity to do 2 days with Asking Alexandria, and that was like my little fangirl dream. I've been listening to them since 2010 when I started going to Warped Tour. So having the opportunity to not only just like attend a show, but go work with them, be on the bus with them, build a relationship with them, I was deep down very much fangirling, and they were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal to work with, to work for. Their shows are super fun. Fans are really into it. And the guys themselves are just like so kind and respectful and just really fun to be around. So balancing as many bands as I am right now is a really cool opportunity. And I'm very grateful for it, but it is a lot. But Breaking Men, they're really good to me. They treat me so well. So it's not like they're like, we need this now. They're very open. Like I try to give things within under 12 hours. I try to get them like photos and at least a video from that night, whatever it is. My issue right now is how do I approach the show differently?
Okay.
Especially because I've been with the band for so long. People get into patterns. And like if you notice it, you see a band perform enough times, you notice people have their routines. At some point, Keith is going to climb up the steps, and so is Jason. And then at another song, they switch sides. I know when Aaron's going to turn. I know when Ben's going to like put the microphone out to the audience. Yeah. And it's like, how do I approach this differently to make it look different, to look more inviting? And like this time, they've switched up some songs, which has given me a lot to work with, which is really, really cool. But I'd never want a band to get bored with what I'm doing, and I don't want to get bored with what I'm doing. So that's my issue right now of how do I approach this differently where I can give you a nice new creative product.
I can totally see that. I mean, I kind of had the same, obviously what you do is completely different than what I do, but I'm trying to do videos out here too. And the same thing, I went home and like you were talking about all the footage that you have to sift through. I mean, that's my worst habit is like having a whole 2 terabytes of footage. And it's like, what do I do with this now?
Yep.
And like, is this interesting enough? And then the same thing you're talking about with approaching, as you just said, I mean, I realized that quickly too. I went home and tried to make some vlogs and I was like, this is the same thing every day. And it's like, I already knew that, but when you see it on camera and you're like, man, this is like, I got to change things up a bit, So I can totally see that. And especially you've done 4 tours? This is like the fourth tour, I would say. Fifth tour. So 5 tours in. I mean, I know exactly what you mean. Like you want to try to approach it differently, as you're saying, and not put out the same video or put out the same photos or whatever.
Yeah.
And has it been working? Have you been able to?
It has been. So I've learned a lot over these past few years. And what's really cool about tour of like the simplified life of not worrying about like where your food's coming from or travel or all this, your job is to focus on the job. Meanwhile, at home, there's so many distractions going on. So that's given me the time to learn. And then working with other photographers and videographers on the road, I like to ask questions. I'm not here to have an ego. I'm not here to be in competition with anybody because there's other people on the road. They're out here for a reason. There's things they could know that could help me. And I've been very lucky enough that everybody's been super friendly. There's no gatekeeping. Mm-hmm. Like on the Daughtry and Disturbed run, the opening band was Nothing More. And their videographer, Christian Lawrence, top of the game, in my opinion. Genuinely one of the most phenomenal videographers out there. And I was more excited to meet him than anybody else on that tour. No offense to anybody on that tour. Loved every single person. But I was gunning to meet this man. Yeah. And I was so excited. Day one, finally figured out like what he looks like, who he was. Freaked out, like absolutely freaked out, fully fangirled over this videographer. And I still will. We are friends now and I will still fangirl over this man. He's so talented and he helped me so much. There's so many video techniques that I didn't know or just like, am I doing this right? I genuinely don't know. And he was like, well, this is how I do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're approaching this in the same way. And I'm like, if this kid who's literally like one of my favorite videographers who I aspire to be like is doing it the same way, okay, maybe I'm not completely on the wrong path. It's just some validation there too. It's all these random conversations that I'm having that are kind of making huge changes in my life. Like, do you remember how I got to start shooting for Breaking Benjamin? It was because of a conversation with you.
Oddly enough, yes. And yeah, I mean, I remember you saying like, I would love to shoot this band. I don't even know why we were talking.
So this was my first like legit tour ever other than like local bands I had worked with and done like one off here and there. And you taught me how to do merch because for the band, I was with
Oh, that's
Another Day
right.
Dawns. I was their only crew member and like phenomenal band, wonderful guys. Like I enjoyed doing every position for them. I loved running around. It was so much fun, but I had no idea what I was doing. And you taught me how to use @venue and kind of like what count outs and all that stuff.
I don't even remember that. Wow.
Thousands of years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And so I remember stopping you one day and just being like, hey, thank you so much. Cause like genuinely you took time out of your like busy schedule to help and teach me because you didn't have an ego about it. And I was so nervous coming in this industry of like, I know nothing. How am I going to figure this out? And you helped me out with merch all the time until I like started to figure it out. And I was like, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Like, please let me do something. Cause that was so big.
I remember you offering that, but I don't even remember doing the favor for you. Like, but I remember you being like, can I bring you a Monster or something?
Yeah. I was like, literally
drink?
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
And you were like, well, I'm usually just so busy. I don't get to like talk to people. So I just kind of like followed you around like a puppy for like the next hour. And we were just like chatting.
Yeah.
And you said that you never got a chance to really see any of the other bands because you were so busy. And I was like, yeah, dude, same. Once we get off stage, like I'm just still like, go. Cause I'm like building their content, taking care of their merch. They did their VIP after the show. So I was like running their VIP security, taking care of all that.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, aren't you supposed to be shooting Breaking Benjamin? And I was like, I'm with the opener. What are you talking about? And then we got into like a little further detail. And I was like, wait, is this like a real thing? And that's when Jerome, our tour manager, walked up and he was like, I was like, hey, is this a thing? And he's like, yeah, hop up there tonight. And I'm like, all of the like biggest things in my life, people are just handling like so casual. Like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it kind of happened like that. I remember that.
And I remember that night I like panic shot the entire show. I scared the crap out of Sean because I just pulled up on his drum riser and I got in trouble. I didn't get in like trouble, but it was like, hey, maybe don't do that. And I was like, but the shot's sick, right?
Yeah. I remember that happening.
I sent all the photos at like 4 a.m. and by 4:02, I was like, he hates me. It's over. It's ruined the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I saw him the next morning. I was trying to be so patient. I ran into Keith at catering. It was the first time I'd ever spoken to Keith. And I was so nervous. He's like, oh yeah, I saw you down there. I was like, yeah. You hate me?
Yeah, I remember you saying I would love to shoot the show. I was like, I think you're like kind of supposed to in a weird way.
Yeah.
I was like, I heard that you were going to. You were like,
yeah, it was like it was like a weird thing that if we didn't have that conversation, I don't think I ever would have known. And I don't think if this opportunity would have come to the light of day that it has. And it was that next day that they're like, yeah, we approved the photos. Like, we're going to have you do this. And I was like,
yeah.
Are you said what? And then after that second show, Jerome pulls me into the office and he's like, hey, what are you doing this summer? And I was like, I'm working for Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah, and it was for the Disturbed run,
yeah.
Which was also insane because those are the two bands like I listened to in middle school. Like I remember my friend in our science class was doing the, like that's immediately where my head went to. Yeah. I'm like, I remember that. And that was the closest I was ever going to get to Disturbed. And now I know those guys, which is bananas.
Yeah.
So
I know, and it's crazy how fast things can happen. As we were talking about earlier, like one decision, one thing can change
your whole life.
It really can.
I was working at Trader Joe's.
Oh yeah, and that was a question I had as well. Like,
oops, sorry.
No. That leads me right into. I wanted to know, like we've talked about it here and there in little pieces, but I did want to know like how you got here because you kind of went right into what I was going to talk about anyway, which was. You were working for Another Day Dawns.
Yes.
That was the first tour.
First legit tour, yeah.
Ended up simultaneously working for Breaking Ben.
Yes.
Right into Breaking Ben, but what were you doing before that? Like, so you were doing photography as a hobby. You worked at Trader Joe's, like right before?
Right before. So at that time when I was on the Another Day Dawns tour, I was still actively working for Trader Joe's. They just like, I'd been with the company for so long that they gave me that 1 month to be like MIA, which I will say that company was, they were great. So all of this started because in 2010, I went to my first concert ever, which was Warped Tour. Amazing first concert. That literally like my whole life did a 180 after that day. I was just like, that. I listened to music. I never really cared about music. Like I never felt anything that like really hit for me. And then I went to Warped Tour and I was like, this is a world I want to be a part of. How do I be a part of it? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I started following all these bands. I remember like Black Veil Brides, Bring the Horizon, Motionless in White, like all those guys. And one name kept popping up with every single photo, Jeremy Saffer.
Right.
And I remember reaching out to him on Twitter. Yeah.
Damn.
I reached out to him on Twitter and I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to work together one day. And to my surprise, he answered very quickly and he was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, wait, what? I was like, that was kind of a shoot your shot in a joking way of like, no way is this person ever going to respond. And I was like,
and so you just knew him from seeing his name,
yep.
Really? Did you even know what he looked like? Or not
like
really?
I followed his page and stuff, but that was really it.
Yeah, he's been around for a while.
He has. So at the time, like it was a new introduction to all of these things, all these names, all these people, all these bands, this whole life. It was all very new for me. And so I ended up meeting him a year later at the following year's Warped Tour.
Okay.
And we became friends and we just kind of like hit it off. And I started just like learning from him. And occasionally he would call me to assist. I forget what year it was, but I was at a Mayhem Fest with my friend and she ended up leaving early, which worked out great for me because just a few minutes later he called me and he's like, hey, my assistant needs a break. Would you mind stepping in? I was like, yes, I will. Yeah. I will happily step in. And I spent the rest of the night like backstage at Mayhem Fest. I met Body Count. I met Suicide Silence, like all these people. Yeah,
2014 Mayhem Fest.
I'm like standing there holding a light and just like, oh my God, so like Ice-T's right in front of me. This is insane.
Yeah.
And so from there, when I was in college, I interned under Jeremy.
That was quite a while back from
I've known Jeremy from quite some time now.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. He introduced me into this world. And so I will forever credit that to him of like, he helped push me and guide me. And he's somebody who like, he looks intimidating because he's got the like septum mustache and he just like looks like an intimidating guy, but he's
a great guy.
Great guy. I've learned so much from him over the years. Like I've gotten a lot of opportunities from working with him and just gotten to meet a lot of people through working with him and assisting him. And it was a really cool way to be like, yeah, this is the life I want to go into. And I think he understood that I wasn't using him to just like meet these bands. It's like, no, how do you do what you do?
You knew you were serious.
Yeah. It was it's a very creative world. And a very cool world to be a part of. I have zero musical talent. I love listening to good music, but could ask me to play a song. I play the camera. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So from there, that's how I was like meeting all these people, seeing this whole world. And like, I want to be a part of it. I started working for local bands at home. One called Half Hearted that like I still work with those guys to this day. Like I love them to death. And it was always an on and off thing of like shooting shows. I wasn't really good at it. My first show I ever shot, like legit show, was Fit for King. They hooked me up with my first photo pass, and this was the first like low light situation I was in. I couldn't give them a single photo. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. I did not know the camera I had was just not it. Like that, I learned the hard way that like this is more complex than people think. It's not just clicking a button. I like to make the joke, but it is more than just clicking a button. You have to know a lot. 2014, Kevin Lyman hooked me up with my first photo pass.
Warped Tour owner, right? Yeah.
Which was crazy. I emailed him New Year's Eve. And I was like, this wasn't like a New Year's resolution, but I was like, let me shoot my shot.
Yeah.
24 hours later, not like 24 hours later, this man emails me. He's like, all right, let me know a week before. And I was like, I got to shoot Warped Tour 2014. That was like the craziest day of my life. I was so thrilled. And then every year after that, I was like, that was my goal, to shoot Warped Tour. And what was really cool about that festival versus like the traditional festivals now, you get one photo pass, you can shoot whatever band you want. Doesn't matter. Okay. You get your first 3 songs and you're out of there and you're fine.
Yeah.
Now it's like you have to have passes for every single band or you are not allowed in that photo pit, just out of respect. And so it just doesn't get swarmed. I understand why there are rules in place, but that was a really cool opportunity to just build your portfolio.
Yeah.
And I remember Color Morale. They were one of the first people to like recognize some of my photos and like see it. I remember talking to Garrett one day and I showed him my business card. It had Telly Smith from The Word Alive on the back of it. He's like, oh, I've seen this photo before. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? That was crazy. And then I believe another band called I The Breather. I don't know if they're still around anymore.
I hadn't heard that name in a while.
Right?
Yeah.
It's been a minute. They were one of the first bands to like use my photos for like Facebook posts. And I was like, this is huge. Oh my God. Like, I can't believe it. So it was very motivating, but I was always like on and off where like local bands didn't really want to work with me. Not like a personal thing of just like, yeah, there were people that were better around me. And so it was always like, should I do this? Should I not do this? I suck at this. I would give it up. I would try. I would give it up. I would try. And obviously I wasn't bringing in a ton of money at that time. Like I started this when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So I needed like real jobs. So I did serving, I did bartending. And then after I worked at Journeys, hoping I could get into Warped Tour through the Journeys route. No, don't go corporate. Don't do it. And then I was working for Trader Joe's at the time. And it was just like a good, stable job, bringing in decent money where I could pay my bills and still trying to figure out the photo thing. But honestly, none of this really came to light until I got burned by a job. I got fired from a marketing job I was doing. I got fired a month and a half in. Okay. It was my first 9 to 5 ever. Hated it. I hated being behind a desk. 9 to 5 is not for me at all. Okay. I was miserable, but I was doing the job. And I randomly got fired. They didn't really have any reasoning, but they kind of just pulled the rug out from under me after using me. And I was not happy about it. And I went home, and I'm a workaholic. So you take away my job and you kind of like that.
Take away everything.
Yeah. I did not handle it well. And I kind of like really crashed and burned really, really badly. And my decision was like, well, if this is going to happen, even if I'm a hard worker, why not just work for myself rather than all these other people that don't treat me well and use me up and spit me out? Might as well struggle the same way and work for myself. Yeah. And that's when I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a real shot. I'm going to struggle. I was on unemployment for a bit, had no work. Every day was terrifying. I was watching my savings just crumble.
So that job that essentially fired you, that was after Trader Joe's?
I was still at Trader Joe's at the time, but I was like, I had cut back my hours to try to find like a more photo related job.
I see.
And so at the time I was only at Trader Joe's once a week.
So it was photo related, that job that.
Yeah. So it was a marketing position for a brewery. So I was doing all their photos and videos for like their food and their drinks, running their socials. And I was keeping track of the numbers of like, oh, things are still building, of like, this is where we started. This is where we're at this point. And all the numbers were growing and things were doing well. Their social media was at their best it had ever been.
Got it.
And then I still got fired. And I was like, okay.
I see.
And I was like, so I realized at that time I still enjoyed doing the photo thing. And I was like, okay, I used to want to be a chef. Maybe I need to do food photos. Maybe that's best of both worlds. Maybe that's where I was meant to go. So I started, I found a freelance job doing that, which I still do at home, which is cool. This freelance company sends me out to random restaurants and I like do all their food and drink photos, which is cool because then I get paid and then they give me food. It's a nice situation. But yeah, at that time that I had no work, I was trying to find anything. I picked up freelance work with this wedding company to do wedding photos. I was getting paid $50 an hour to do weddings, weddings are an insane amount of work. And that was $0. And it was just really rough situations. It's really weird to meet somebody on their wedding day for the first time, be like, hi, I'm a complete stranger. I'm going to be part of the most intimate moment of your life. Yep. And then you're never going to see me again. What's up? Yeah. I didn't like that. I ended up doing school photography, like class photos, which is the one thing I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to do. I wanted no part of it. Okay, turn, sit like this, smile. Okay, bye. Yeah. I love kids. I love working with kids, but that's when I think photography, that is not the route I wanted to go down.
So was touring photography specifically ever the end goal?
That was the ultimate goal. That is why I picked up a camera.
Really? Mm-hmm. So all these other avenues
was just to get here.
And just to get experience and also
to learn the camera, because you can go to school, you can read every book. Does not matter until you put that camera in your hands and you pick it up and you fail and you learn and then you just keep that flow going. Doesn't matter. I went to college and I had a couple of photography classes. They did nothing for me. They did absolutely nothing. And I felt like it was a waste of time. And I'm like, you're wasting my actual time to experience stuff. Yeah. I learned more of my photography stuff from my 2 teachers in high school and Jeremy Saffer. Yeah. Those are the 3 people who taught me the most about photography, and then just genuinely failing and learning on my own. And now it's like YouTube videos and different friends' information. But I remember The day I got the message from Another Day Dawns, I had just assisted a shoot for Jeremy a few months in advance with them. And it was random because he hadn't needed me in years. This was like right after COVID, because his girlfriend Tara is now always with him, and she like knows his setup, so she takes care of it. And for some reason, he was like, "Hey, I need a second assistant this day. Would you mind coming?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." I did nothing that day. I did absolutely nothing. I was like, I felt bad. I was like, you didn't really need me. I don't know why I'm here. But this band, they were so great. We got along really well. And usually being a female assistant.
Wait, it was Another Day Dawns that he was shooting? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
He did their original like portrait shoot, like all their promos that they used to have. Now, obviously, band lineup has changed.
That was your introduction.
That was my introduction to them. I didn't even know their name at the time. I couldn't remember. I just remember what sat with me is usually when I assisted photo shoots for bands, being a younger female assistant, they pretend you don't exist. That is always a thing I experienced. And I'm like used to it, whatever. It's not my play. Again, my job is not to be like seen and like center of attention. So I just, whatever it is. But these guys, they were so kind to me. They were making jokes with me. We just got along really well. And they respected me a lot in just like that I existed as a person in the same room as them.
Yeah.
And I remember that. I was like, they were really cool. And that just sat with me, and we all like followed each other on Instagram. And Jeremy was always so cool about any group we were around. He's like, "Hey, she's a photographer too. Like, follow her. You ever need somebody on the road?" Because he doesn't really do the road anymore. So he was so encouraging about that. A photographer is literally telling a band, "Hey, this is another photographer. Take her." Like, that's crazy cool. And a few months later, I was sitting in my office in my apartment, and I was literally sitting there thinking, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I was like, I need to make a decision. I need to like make a move because I'm tired of just this like in between area that I'm in. Working at Trader Joe's, I'm kind of doing the photo thing. I'm kind of not. Like, I need to make a real decision and just like try something, anything. An hour later, the vocalist Cody messages me on Instagram, and he's like, "Hey, sorry to bother you. You could totally say no, but would you want to come on the road with us?" And I'm like, this is the message I've waited years for. I didn't think it was real. And the fact that he was like, "Yeah, like no pressure, you can say no." I was like, "Yeah, say no to my lifelong dream come true. It's fine." Right. Yeah, whatever. And in that moment, I remember being absolutely terrified. And I was going to say no because I was scared. And I didn't.
Scared to just take that leap?
Yeah, because that's an extreme life decision. Yeah. Like, this is the ultimate fork in the road. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I could stick with what I'm comfortable with, even though I'm not happy. Or I could risk it all.
Right.
And I immediately said yes. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should ask like a few more questions, like who, what, where, when. And then he sent me the ad mat, and it was Breaking Benjamin, Bush, and them. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
That's a pretty big first tour.
That's a huge first tour. I always assumed I was going to be with like small club bands. Yeah. If I ever got to do this, I would be with like small club bands, which I would still be very happy to do to this day. But it was like, that's my first legit tour was an arena tour.
Yeah. Which is really cool. And you skipped a lot of the clubs and theaters and all that stuff. But on the back end of things, you, like you said, you met Jeremy in 2014. So you were working really hard.
I met him back in like 2011.
Okay.
Is when we first met.
So 14 was the Mayhem Fest then?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so even though you got an opportunity to do an arena tour, I mean, it doesn't mean you weren't working.
It took me
behind the scenes, you know, really trying to get that opportunity. Whereas other people like me, I started out earlier, but I was going through the grind of, I'm doing it, but in a really shitty way, you know, like talking, you know, really low pay, you know, $300 a week, like no showers, just, you know, 5-6 shows in a row. I mean, you know, so everyone has a different path, but the reason I wanted to ask that too is because like doing this whole Take Me on Tour thing is like the number one question every single day is, how did you get into touring?
Yep.
And you know, that's kind of the reason I have this podcast too, is just to tell people like what it's really like. And so they know it's not a simple answer. It's not just like, well, first of all, it's not as easy as people think. And this proves it. I mean, my story is similarly wild, but I mean, they're different, but they're also, you have to just do certain things. Like they're similar in certain ways and different in others. But my point is that like, you have to just make that decision, the same decision that you were talking about, you know? So I came from, you know, this podcast isn't about me. It's about the people I work with, and it's your story. But I did something similar to where I worked a very steady job at Costco and had to make that decision. And I did the same thing, you know, where it was just like, I have to I have to do this, it's just never going to happen if you're kind of got your hand in both, where you're just like, well, I'm trying to stay comfortable, but I'm also trying to do this. I'm not saying that it's impossible.
It's a lot harder.
Right.
You have to give your full time and dedication to it, and kind of starting out is not going to be easy. Walking away from stability is very difficult. Trader Joe's was a great paycheck, and the health benefits were great. And now it's like paying for my own health insurance, hoping I chose the right one. I don't know.
Exactly. I'm right there with you, where everything was really comfortable. And that's anytime anybody asks me that question, it's hard to explain it in just a few words, but you do have to be okay with being uncomfortable for sometimes years. Yeah. I mean, I went, broke for many years trying to do this. And like you said, the health insurance thing, you don't have that anymore with some company covering it for you. There's a lot of stuff to figure out. But like I said, I knew some of these things, but I didn't know all those little details. Yeah. And it always helps me have that much more respect for somebody who's done, gone through that grind, whether it be the same thing as doing clubs or not. Like you said, you got into an arena tour, but knowing what you went through
took 10 years to get
there.
Yeah,
exactly.
10 years and a lot of time and money and effort, and like camera equipment's not cheap. And then you start touring and then you start realizing all the things you need. Like I think it took a full year before I got a Pelican. And that was a huge purchase for me of like, all right, I need this. Now I have like 2 full cases of equipment, and it's still like my bag's still exploding full of stuff, just because you constantly need more things. There's no catching up in all the equipment you need to be able to accomplish all the things you need, because this day and age, like trends are always changing, and you need to like work with the times, and if not, be ahead of them. So a huge challenge for me right now is how do I put this? How do I beat everybody else? How do I get there faster? How do I create the new thing that people are like, oh, I want to start doing that? Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, because it was hard enough to just figure out what like my look looks like. Yeah. And the craziest and like one of the coolest things ever, Jason came up to me day one of rehearsal, and he's like, you have like a look now. Like, I know your stuff. Yeah. And I was like, that is like the nicest thing you could have said to me.
It's a big compliment.
That was a huge compliment, especially to him, from him.
Especially coming from a band guy.
Coming from a band guy, but Jason is so up on the times with everything that's going on music-wise, content-wise. The amount of people he has worked with is insane. Like, he is top of the game, and he's so incredibly talented. So for that compliment to come from him and be so genuine, like, it really hit me deeply. And I was like, I want to frame this moment, because it was so difficult for me to get to that point. And now people are like, oh, I can recognize your stuff. And even weirder, now that I've been with Breaking Benjamin for so long, and because my job is a little more public than like other jobs, like the backline techs and audio techs and all that, and even like merch, my name is publicly like put out there. Yeah. To the point where I think it happened for the first time last tour. We were doing a meet and greet, and this one girl, she was so sweet. We were in California. She had gifts for the whole band, and she like had like little conversations with all of them. She was talking everything, and it was time for her photo. She turns around. She's like, hi, Dom. And I was like,
you're known.
I'm sorry, what? And the whole band lost their minds laughing. They got such a kick out of it, because I was just in such shock. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, people know who I am. People are stopping me at 100%. Shows, and like they know who I am, and I'm like, that's insane. Yeah, like that's really cool. So I'm not a big like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. I'm cool if nobody ever knows who I am ever. But it is like,
you're tagged in a lot of stuff.
I am, yeah. Because, but there's like one photo of me on the internet, and I'm trying to keep it to that. Because especially like all the surprise of fan stuff we do, it makes it a lot easier for me to like sneak my way through the crowd if nobody knows who I am. Okay. Like when we were doing that, towards the end, people started to figure out who I was, and I would start getting messages. This is why I should meet the band. And I was like, the second you message me is this reason you will never get to meet them. Like, I want to choose people who are like, don't expect it. Yeah. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. All the freedom the bands give me. It's a really cool thing.
And I remember seeing those videos, but our jobs are so different. Like, I don't even know most of that stuff is going on until I see it posted for the first time. And that's how I found out about those videos. Like, we just work in 2 different areas, 2 different like Sometimes we don't even see each other, but maybe once a day, twice a day, and then
or not till the bus.
Until we get on the bus, and then that's just how it is. There's a lot of people on these tours, and everyone's doing a different job, and that's just kind of how it is. But I'm glad that they've given you that freedom to do that, and
it's so cool.
Yeah, and one of the things I was going to mention too is that like when I started touring, like we talked about, things happen so fast with technology, but also social media and all, like things just move so fast. And like 10 years ago, photographers and content people in general was not a priority.
Correct.
So
correct.
People would be hiring, front of house first was kind of the first priority, TM, or, they would hire a combo, or then they would get a guitar tech or a merch person or whatever. But it was like only the bigger bands that had all of that covered, plus some extra budget would have a photographer. Absolutely. Like A Day to Remember had a photographer, Adam Elmakias for.
Yeah, I remember. Oh my gosh. I took one of his classes at Warped Tour, I remember.
Back then he was like one of the only photographers I knew about,
Yeah, he was a big deal.
Yeah. And he actually has I don't know if he still does it. He had a podcast as well called Don't Shit on the Bus. Yeah. And I mean, like back then it was like you had to have all that stuff covered, and then photography was like your last. Yeah. And it was very photo based too. It was not like
video was not as much of a thing.
Right. And then, you fast forward until, I guess 2021-ish maybe, sometime when TikTok came out, and then Reels, and then everything was short form, and now everything changed, and now it's to the point where people are prioritizing somebody to do that before anything else. It's like they're, that's like the first crew person they're thinking about because it's that important.
Yeah.
But that also goes into, as we talked about earlier, like you started out as a photographer and it was all for photography. And I think maybe even when you got in with Breaking Ben, that was probably primarily what you were doing, but then things kind of transitioned into now you got to do video and you're editing, and things have grown and things are ever changing.
It is very different, but I do appreciate that the job has become more vital to touring because you want to stay relevant on the internet, especially if you plan to release new music. So I was grateful that the timing I got in with Breaking Benjamin is when they were starting to write all that write stuff.
Yeah.
And so by the end of last year when they released Awaken, which was their first new song in I want to say 5 years, that was a big deal. And now that I'm roped into that, I also got to create their new promotional image, the ad mat for the spring tour. That was my photo.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that.
And the first time I saw that on an iMag, I teared up a little bit. I was I remember taking that picture. I remember that was the ultimate goal of the 2023 tour of get a picture of these guys together, get a nice promo image. And it happened in Guilford, New Hampshire at the greatest venue ever because everybody was having such a great day. Bank of New Hampshire, killer place. It happened right outside the bus, right before they walked on stage. And I was I remember when I got the shot, I was oh my God, I got it. And I was I had plenty of witnesses to say I did this.
I remember that.
And then when they sent me the ad mat, I was you are joking.
So did you know it was being used?
At the time, I didn't know they were going to use it for the ad mat. It was supposed to be used for some other things. I knew it was going to be used for something.
Yeah.
And then they surprised me with the ad mat, and I was so over the moon.
That's awesome.
Because everything that went out, that was mine.
I can't imagine that feeling because I get excited just seeing my little merch graphic on the screen.
Which is still so important. It's cool to see your own work being advertised.
Yeah, it's strange. It was a strange feeling the first time I saw it. I was like, whoa, that was from my computer. And now it's on these big screens and stuff. So the fact that your photo is literally everywhere, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely insane. And then the last tour is when we started to build the new promotional image. And I'm just going to hopefully keep that going just to create options and just kind of have it.
Yeah.
Which was a new challenge for me, but especially doing that on the road. So now I travel with my entire studio, which is just a whole other this is new. All right.
Yeah.
Just honestly, it's just keeping track of all the equipment and all the different directions it goes in. But it was a really cool opportunity. And it's just, I never thought I'd see a tour bus, let alone get to be on tour with who I'm with.
Yeah.
And now it's to the point where I go home and I don't really tell people about my job too much because I know the reaction it gets. And I'm not a big attention person. I'm really not here for that. So I'll be I'm a photographer. Yeah, I work with some bands, whatever. And then when people really push, it's funny to see who reacts to what band. Some people react to Breaking Benjamin. Some people react to OAR. And I can never figure out the fan base for that. Because it'll always be the most random person that's like, OAR? Are you kidding me? Crazy Game of Poker? Like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. And now with like Daughtry, that's a whole other one where my parents are not music people at all. They're not into this, but they're like, I'm grateful. Like now that I've made it a real thing, they're like starting to see and understand it. And they've like come to 2 shows now, which is insane. They've both been to 1 concert in their lives ever.
Okay.
So like the fact that they came to a concert and like wanted to see what I was doing was a really big deal for me. And I was also like, please don't disown me after the amount of swearing you hear at these shows.
Yeah.
And now like my dad will go around and be like, yeah, my daughter like works for like so-and-so. And like, he didn't realize how big some of these bands were until they came to the Jones Beach show, which is like, that venue is beautiful and like huge. And they were like, oh, this isn't a small thing.
Yeah.
And then to see how some people react when he's like, oh yeah, my daughter works for Daughtry. And they're just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, Dad.
So things got
I'm kind of cool.
Things got put into perspective when they saw
the
size venues and everything that you're doing.
Yeah. Cause like when I love my parents, but when I first started all of this, they were not happy. They were not happy about the music I was listening to, the like me going to Hot Topic, stretching my ears, wanting tattoos.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, it's like part of the uniform, guys. Wear black and get tattoos. It's all part of it.
Yeah. And now that you've finally made it, is touring what you expected? Is there anything, obviously doing it versus thinking about it and wondering what it is, is it what you expected, would you say?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. So I remember one thing specifically, and I would see all these girls that like worked on Warped Tour. Okay. And like their makeup's perfect, their skin's not breaking out. Like, what is going on? How are you doing this? And I didn't realize like venues had showers and stuff like that. And I thought it was going to be a lot harder and like grittier. Yeah. I did benefit from walking into like a little higher level where there is more comforts involved. Like my first legit tour, I was in the back of a Suburban. Like, yeah, we had the occasional hotel rooms, but I would like be on the couch, like shower in the venue, do what you could. And I was still fine and thrilled with it, but it was nice to know of like, okay, you get on a tour bus, there are comforts there. There's a fridge, there's a microwave, there's water always accessible. Yeah. There's some snacks. Like there are like restrooms where you can like go in and take care of yourself and stuff like that. I didn't think living with 12 people would be something I was so comfortable with, but it is, because they start out as 11 other strangers, and then by the end of it, they're family. There's different aspects of like, I thought certain things would be like, oh, you're venturing out all these cities. People still think that. They're like, you must see so much. I'm like, I see a parking lot and I see the inside of a venue.
And a hotel lobby.
And in a hotel, but that's really all I can tell you. Yeah. And like names don't mean anything to me until I'm physically in the place. And then I'm like, oh, I've been here before. Oh, okay. Unless it's like places like Jones Beach and Guilford that like have a very standing name. I
mean, even today we're in Lubbock and I thought I'd never been here. We show up and I'm like, oh yeah, we've stayed at this exact hotel.
Sick.
And so I was telling people, I don't even think I've ever been to Lubbock, but you just forget. I mean,
because so much happens and there's such fast pace.
But it's funny that the way I recognize Lubbock is by the hotel. Yeah. Just as we were saying, it's like, well, I mean, what we see on days off is the hotel, which fortunate to have, of course, but
or the mall.
Yeah, it's a mall, a hotel, or fast food and restaurants, around us, and that's pretty much the day, because as we talked about earlier, most of the time we're spent just kind of recovering, or you're editing, kind of getting work done. We're not. I mean, there are people out there who go out and do a hike or go. I mean, I think Stain's riding go-karts today, but we don't.
Nice.
Yeah, we don't always have that. It's not like every day is like
every day is not this huge adventure. It is fun and it's crazy cool, but it is still a job, and people on the outside don't realize that. And that's something, the more I do this, the more me going home is really hard, because there's nobody I can relate to. There's nobody I can really talk to about this. And my friends at home, they're awesome. They're so stoked for me. But it's like, I feel so weird saying this, but they're like, oh, you're the coolest person I know. I'm like, no. Yeah. Like, thank you, but no. But at the same time, it's like, anything I say, you guys aren't going to believe me of like, it's a job and it is hard. And like, I'm awake all the time. And I'm constantly like have to be aware of my surroundings.
Yeah.
If the band's going and doing something, I have to know about it. Whether somebody tells me or not, I need to be aware to go. Like the other day, Jason wanted to do this like silly like science experiment where he just wanted to see if like liquid IV in the Topo Chico would like explode. But if I didn't like slightly overhear that conversation, I would have missed that. And that's like, that's a video in itself.
Okay.
So like our whole theme this tour has been like sick content. Like I'll just get Aaron looking at the camera and be like, sick content, sick content.
I saw him saying that the other day.
It's so funny. I have a whole folder of him just saying that.
Yeah.
But it's like you go home and you explain this to people and they don't get it. And it makes it really hard and it makes it really lonely at home. So that's why I've tried touring I'm trying to tour as much as possible because this is genuinely my happy place. I like staying busy. I like going, but it's like, it's not this like glamorous world everybody thinks it is.
No,
it is still a job.
Of course. Yeah. And that's the reality of it. And another thing too, another challenge that I know you face is you're gluten-free, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that's kind of its own, maybe I don't know how much of a thing is that. I mean, I know obviously everyone's aware of it, but like
doesn't always mean there's options.
Right. So is that's a whole challenge that's added on top of your other life.
Taking care of your health on the road is very difficult. Taking care of yourself on the road is very difficult. So like not only are you learning when you first start touring, you're learning how to do a whole new job, but then you have to learn an entirely new lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that takes a significant amount of time. Like I credit Cowboy to teaching me how to tour. Like I absolutely credit that man teaching me about like bringing your own laundry pods, doing venue laundry in the venue, but do it after the show. If you have time, you go into the next day with all like fresh, clean clothes and it's free. Like all these little tips and tricks matter. Like don't drink the bus water. Don't use it for like brushing your teeth. Like all these things matter. And then, I have a lot of dietary restrictions as of the past few years, as everyone does these days. But like being gluten-free, technically I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free.
Okay.
Which is a very unrealistic way to live on the road because you got to give into something at some point or you're either spending an insane amount of money or you're just not eating.
Yeah.
So finding that balance is really difficult. The fact that we're carrying catering is very helpful. Because now I can talk to the catering staff and they are personally aware that like I can't eat certain things. So there's always at least one thing that I can have, which is super nice. But it's difficult to adjust to. And then like you have to remember to like take your vitamins and take care of yourself every day. And my biggest adjustment to touring was coming in and understanding that everybody's jobs, just because we're all on the same tour, does not mean any of our days look the same.
Absolutely.
And so everybody's job is so vastly different that like all the production guys and like backline and everything, they have to be up early to like dump the truck, make sure the stage is built. Like a poor stage manager, starts at like 6 a.m. and ends at like 2 a.m. Like they are constantly going, whether it was Chris or Joey or Casey, like they are just always going. But at the same time, when that show is done, their day is done. When everything's packed up, they can go to bed and they're done. My job is very different where I can start a little bit later in the day. I typically don't because it's just always some editing or something to do. But like I would feel the guilt of like, well, everybody else is up and in the venue. I'm not. I feel lazy. And now I'm like, you can take your time. It's okay. It's not that serious. Like some days I'll get up whenever I'm ready to be up. I'll go in the venue. I will get dressed. Then like start my day and like get your coffee, like getting into these little routines make a huge difference. And like little things of like, I make sure I bring an extra blanket on the road because that's like a comfort from home of like, okay, this is making it mine. You have to build those little comforts to make being out here like survivable and comfortable. Because if you just force yourself into all these uncomfortable situations and push yourself to your limits, after a while, your body cannot keep up.
Yeah.
Because this is a very strenuous lifestyle.
You know, and it is really exhausting to be out here. I mean, you can sleep every day, all day, but it just doesn't, you don't really catch up, you know?
No.
I mean, I could go to sleep, you know, right after we do this. And I mean, I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll still be tired. It's just, it's kind of how it is out here. And so it goes along with what we were saying earlier too about it's just not for everybody. It
takes a special type of person to be out here because then it's also like an addicting lifestyle.
And I'm glad you made it out here at this level. and doing what you want to do, because not everybody gets to do that. You know, I mean, there's people that want different jobs, different positions, or they're in clubs and they want to be in arenas and all that stuff. So I'm glad you made it here. You know, I mean, and
thank you.
And I'm glad you, because you did go, like we talked about, you did go through that grind in a very different way, but putting yourself out there is a huge step. And I used to do the same thing. I remember I used to message people, do you need, you know, anything? Like, I'll do 3 jobs. And a lot of people, you know, in this industry, like, they look down on that, which I understand, because it's at a certain point, you know, they don't want you to devalue the, you know, the rates and all that stuff. But sometimes, you know,
you got to play the game.
Yeah, you
do. Especially when you start.
And sometimes you just need a foot in the door, you know? So, I mean,
once you're in it, you're pretty good. As long as you have a good personality and people want to work with you, once you're in the door, you're good to go. Getting in that door is incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And that's, like I said, a lot of people ask how you get into this. And like I said, the answer is not just, you know, straightforward. It's working with this person, meeting that person. It's making this contact. And who knows where you'd be if you didn't put yourself out there? What if you would have never messaged, you know, Jeremy? What if you would have never, you know, met this person? I mean, it really does change your entire trajectory of like your whole career.
Yeah.
You know, you explained it before I even was able to ask a question. But one of the things I was going to ask way early when we started this is like, did you intentionally like put yourself here, or did you just end up here? You know, like I knew, bit of both. Yeah, you know, and I guess what I meant by that was more like there's people in this industry who couldn't care less to be here. Like they just kind of they knew somebody who worked in the industry, they needed this, and they're just kind of here and they're like, this is just my job. But then there's other people who I think we fall into this category of we want to be here. And you know, and we you know, we put a lot of work into just putting ourselves in this position to where we have these opportunities. And that's crazy that you, like you said, you're not only are you at an arena tour, but you're doing what you want. And I was going to ask, what would you, if you, like, let's say touring photography, videography wasn't even a thing. Would you even be on, like, what if you couldn't do it one day or there was just not a thing? Would you even have any interest in touring? Or what do you see yourself as if you did tour?
Wait, what?
Just curious. Like if you, let's say they were like, let's say content wasn't a thing, no photos, no videos. Would you have any interest in touring at all?
Oh, for sure. For sure. I'm not going to do photo and video forever. You do get burnt out after a while. It's hard to, any art field of any type. I'm sure tattoo artists feel the same way. People who paint professionally, all these things. You can only be creative so much of the time. And then after a while, your brain's like, what do I do? You hit a wall, you get through it. It's just a cycle that happens.
So you feel like you'd still tour, possibly doing something else?
I would like to long-term tour manage.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, I don't know if lay the groundwork now necessarily is the right term for this, but more of I'm starting to ask questions of what can lead me there. I love my job. It's very cool that people hire me for the creative things that I'm able to do. Super cool, super fun. What I don't like is that I'm so on the outside of what the tour actually is. Content is a very vital role in this day and age, but at the same time, depending on the band, it could be if their budget gets cut, it could be the first thing to get cut. Right. Or the first position. They need a tour manager, they need a front of house. There's other things that like are vital to the show and the tour actually happening.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to be more a part of. I want to get more education on what actually makes a tour happen. I want to be a part of that. Again, not for an attention thing, just to kind of be like, sit back at the end of the day, be like, I helped make this happen. This is a thing we did together and we put in the effort and I like problem solving and helping people. And this could be my way to help people of like, if somebody comes to me with an issue of like, we're missing this piece. We need somebody for this, whatever the issue may be. I want to be a part of that. I want to be more of a part of the actual tour than just so on the outside, just like showing it to everybody else.
I used to tour manage a lot in the beginning and it's a lot of work, but it's very fulfilling.
Yes.
Like whenever the day's over and you only got a few hours of sleep and, you know, I mean, some positions, as we talked about, still do, but like the tour managing thing was just always a grind and you felt like you always needed to be somewhere all the time.
Yes.
But it was very fulfilling, you know, and Blake, you know, he tour manages as well. He likes that too. He's like, he likes logistics. He likes problem solving. He likes all that kind of stuff. And I do have interest in that stuff too. I kind of wish I had kind of still gone that route, but it just
never too late.
Yeah, it's just things kind of took a turn after 2021.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I was curious about. Like, if since you're, you wanted to be a photographer, and you are obviously you're here doing it. So I was just curious, like if you had any interest in still touring, even if it
definitely
weren't doing photography.
Definitely, I think within the next however many years, at some point I'm gonna want a more stable lifestyle. Especially I would like a family one day, and you can't, especially as a female, you can't really do that on the road. God forbid I like have a kid. It's gonna look real weird walking around like that,
Yeah.
So I want to, and I've always found myself leaning towards management roles of I can work with a decent amount of people and stay somewhat calm under pressure. It's still the thing I'm like working on, is I feel like everybody's got their stuff to work on. But yeah, I would like to go into like the PA and then tour manager route, and then eventually go more into like the label side and management from there. That way I'm still a part of it, and I still have the option to come in and out of the road, but then that creates a more stable life.
Absolutely.
Because also when I first started touring, I completely blanked out on the fact that I'm like, yes, I have a job for a month. This is sick. And then I got to my last week and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a job next week.
Yeah. It's a weird thing.
It's a really weird thing. And once you're in it, people don't really, there's no book on how to tour and how to like survive this way. You just kind of figure it out on the fly. So it's like, you make all this money up front because you have to save it for all the months you're at home.
Yep.
So this past winter, I was home for 3 months. And I like had enough where I was like, okay, but then you get to the end of that, you start seeing that number drop and you're like, I need to work.
It's weird when everything's going out of your account and nothing's going in.
My little bank account is so judgmental. I get this like red versus green bar about how much you're spending versus coming in. And it was just like the green bar is here and the red bar is there. And I'm like, stop judging me, guys. I'll make money eventually.
I know. It's a weird thing.
I don't handle that well because I'm just like, oh my God, I'm poor. And it's like, no. It's just, it's coming just in the future. So it's all these things to like adjust to. So I'm very grateful now, especially like I said earlier, Grandview Management has been filling up my schedule, which I'm so grateful because again, nobody has to do this for me, but it's like we've had a really good working relationship, and I'm very glad that it's continuing. So I'm not desperately looking for work anymore. So like once I got to March, I was like, all right, I know I'm gonna have work. I just have to get to March. And now I have a good relationship with some bands that it's like, all right, cool. We have loyalty towards each other. If I can kind of like, I'll go to Breaking Benjamin, then I'll go back to Daughtry. And then if I get the opportunity to work for Asking Alexandria again, I would absolutely love that and jump at the opportunity in a second. So it's very cool. And then like in June, I'll be back with OAR for a little bit. So it's nice to have that.
And I think your work speaks for itself, considering that Grandview is basically, putting you on other tours right now.
They're being so nice, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
So I mean, like you said, you have to earn your way in, and I don't think you would be having these opportunities if they didn't like your work and if they didn't think you were worth having around. And that's great that you're able to keep busy, you know. And speaking of that, since Grandview, you're working with a lot of their bands. What's next for you after this tour?
So after this tour, I go back with Daughtry, and I know we have a few shows with Creed this summer.
And is it a Daughtry headliner, or is it a supporting?
I think it's support with Creed.
Oh, it's with, okay, I got you.
Yeah. And then I think there's a couple one-offs that are like Daughtry headliners. And then from there, the rest of my schedule is still getting figured out because things are a little bit up in the air and, conflicting things. But right now, that's what I go back to. And then in June, so right after this tour, I fly home, actually go shoot a friend's wedding this is bananas, but they moved their wedding date for when I was off tour, which is crazy because I don't do weddings anymore. But I was like, that
says a lot.
Wild. And I told them, I was like, I'll find you somebody else. They're like, no, we want you. I'm like, that's like so crazy cool. So I hope to not mess that up at all.
Yeah.
And then I do 2 days with OAR. We are in Colorado, Vail. We're in Vail, and then we do Red Rocks. Because I know Red Rocks is dope. Running Red Rocks, the entire place during a show, Yeah, it's a lot.
I've still never been, but one day.
It's a really cool place. Loden is a nightmare.
I've heard.
The place itself is really cool, but you don't realize how much like the elevation is a real thing. And there's like there's the tiniest hill between where the bus parks and the venue, right? And there's a shuttle to go up and down. And there was one day I had just missed the shuttle. I was like, I'll walk it. It's fine. I got halfway up this tiny hill and was just like, oh, okay, that's why we have the shuttle. All right. Yeah. And then at the end of the show, because I had run the place 3 times, I'd gone all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down to just get as many shots as humanly possible. They provide oxygen tanks just because of the elevation thing. That's a normal thing for anywhere out
Holy
there.
Crap.
They have because it's the elevation, you get the elevation headaches, people get elevation sick. Everybody was cheersing with drinks and stuff, and I'm cheersing with an oxygen tank. I'm like, we did it, guys.
Dang.
Is a really cool place, and their OAR's 30th anniversary is next year, so I know they have big plans in the works, so they're taking it a little bit easy this year. So I'm grateful to just be able to come back and work with them again, because it's a really great crew, really great group of guys, and for a 2-hour set, they make it go by fast.
So you'll stay busy either way. I mean, I'm
trying so hard.
Yeah. And then, I mean, we've got the Breaking Ben 3 Days Grace tour as well. So, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I'm assuming you'll be on that, or you don't know yet?
I am also assuming, but I never like to assume until I have a flight. I never like to assume until I have a flight in my hands. And even then, I'm like, all right, I'm on the flight. Okay, I'm here. Yeah. Okay, maybe I do have this job. I know what you mean. I definitely, I don't put anything out anywhere until I'm like, the last thing I want to do is be like, yeah, I'm doing this. And then I'm like, wait, no, I'm not, and then you're like, I've seen that happen to some people. I just feel so embarrassed in those situations. No, so I would like to come back. It would be very cool. I think that would be a fun run. But until I have that flight, I'm just going to keep my fingers crossed that these guys are going to keep me. But it's not like they've treated me so well. They've never given me any inclination otherwise. But I know what you mean. I never want to assume. I mean, when people asked me if I was going to be on this one, I was like, I think so. But I'm not going to ever say that I am for sure. There's never know no guarantees. Exactly. There are no guarantees, because literally anything could happen at any time. But yeah, but I mean, I'm glad you're out here. You've covered 4 or 5 tours already with these guys. Crazy, I've been there for all of them. You have. You were there since the beginning. Yeah, and I can't thank you enough for doing this podcast. Thank you for having me. I know it took a year's worth of making it happen, but I mean, I'm proud of you for doing it. I'm proud of you for making a move, because I know you were anxious about it, but it's like what we talked about of not making a move is a move in and of itself, and you're putting in the effort. You brought all of this on tour. I know what it's like to travel with an insane amount of equipment. It's not easy. It is stressful, and you're still doing it and making the time. So, dude, I hope you're very proud of yourself, because this is awesome. Thank you very much. This is really awesome. Every time I do an episode and I watch it back and I hear the feedback, it gives me enough push to do the next one. Because, after doing that Cowboy and Blake one, I was just like, this is so much work. This is so much editing. And then I got the feedback, and I was just like, man, this is exactly why I'm doing it. But I kind of did regret making it so high quality and doing video and B-roll. And I was like, dude, I set myself up for so much work, But I'm glad to do it, and I'm glad to have you on here. Thank you. Yeah, the amount of work that goes into video is insane. So anybody who says it's just clicking a button, it's just for the jokes, guys. It's a lot of work. It really is. Yeah. Well, catch Dominique on tour with Breaking Ben, OAR, Daughtry, Asking Alexandria. Fingers crossed. Yeah. So yeah. Lakeview also fingers crossed. Lakeview. Yeah. Catch us on tour, and we'll see you guys out on the road. If you are still listening, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sticking around. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Dominique D'Costa. I hope it gave some of you who want to get into the touring industry the insight that you've been looking for. It really is about putting yourself out there and making yourself known. As I said, Dominique's story is a prime example of how you can get into touring without having the most experience out there. It took her 10 years of networking to get her first tour, and my story is very similar. It didn't take me 10 years to get my first tour, but it was a lot of years working for smaller bands for little to no pay and really grinding it out until it all became worth it in the end. And, doing YouTube and this podcast and being in the music industry, the number one question I get asked is, how do you get into touring? And it's really not just black and white. Everyone's story is different, but Dominique's experience
And Story is a prime example of how it can just happen when you least expect it. So I really hope some of you took away some of the information that you've been looking for. When I get, messages or people ask me in person, this episode is a great example of how you can get into the industry. But I'm hoping to get at least one more crew person interviewed on this next tour. But honestly, hopefully more than one. I did have another one lined up on this last tour, but he unfortunately canceled on me the morning of, and we just didn't have enough time left in the tour to reschedule. So it's unfortunate. I wasn't able to have him on, as I do think he would have been a really great guest. But what can you do? We're out here to work and we're busy. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But until next time, I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys out on the road.